Welcome to the Golf Improvement Podcast, Episode 19.
Welcome to the podcast for golf lovers and enthusiasts who are looking to take their games to new heights. Dedicated to custom club fitting, short game improvement, and effective practice to improve your golf game. This is the Golf Improvement Podcast with your host, Tony Wright.
Hello, this is Tony Wright from Game Improvement Golf in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, with the Golf Improvement Podcast, dedicated to bringing you useful information on custom club fitting, short game improvement, and effective practice techniques to take your game to new heights. Well, many of you know I've been writing a monthly newsletter, for about 4 years. And I'll have to admit to you that about a month ago, I was really struggling a little bit. I felt a little burned out in terms of trying to identify new content and, just simply struggling a little bit to do it the way that I feel comfortable with to provide the best value to those of you who subscribe. But I realized going through that, first of all, a lot of people often go through a period of, where they're a little burned out on what they've been doing for a long time. And I got through that because I realized that there is so much great information being published out there. And I feel a little bit like what I would call a golf improvement information broker in terms of trying to sift through some of that and to provide information to those of you who have been loyal readers of my newsletter and my podcast and also my blog, to get good information to you that hopefully will help you play better golf, maybe in this next year. So one of the things I'm going to do that I think will help me a little bit in terms of understanding how to do things better for you is to do a reader survey. I'm just about to start creating this survey. I'm going to create a group of questions that hopefully will not take too long for you to answer. And I will make note of it in my blog and on my website and things like that. I hope all of you that are listening to this podcast will complete this survey. I would very much appreciate that. And this will give me some insights, I believe, into what I can do to help give you the kind of information in the future that you will, first of all, most enjoy, and second of all, but probably more importantly, will get the best benefit from. So watch out for that reader survey coming in a few weeks, sometime around the time that I publish my next newsletter. I'm going to have a link in the newsletter and also a link on my blog and talk about it a little bit in this podcast. Thanks for listening to that, and I hope you will enjoy this podcast interview that I did with Mike McFadden, a great friend and just a brilliant guy from Germany. I've known Mike for about 3 or 4 years. And those of us in the AGCP really value his friendship and his knowledge. Hello, this is Tony Wright with the Golf Improvement Podcast. It's a huge pleasure today to talk with and learn from Mike McFadden. Mike is the sports director of the Jakobsberg Hotel and Golf Resort in Jakobsberg, Germany. You say, where did Tony find him? But we've met at an AGCP meeting a number of years ago, and Mike is actually an AGCP member, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Mike's a 30-year-plus PGA teaching professional. But he does a lot more than that. He is a founding member of the Education and Exam Board of the PGA of Germany, speaker at seminars. He's in Golf Magazine's Top 50 Teachers in Germany. He has another unique hat, I would say. At least I believe it's unique. As I said, he's a member of the Association of Golf Club Fitting Professionals. He has his own company, True Custom Fitting, which is responsible for teaching all of the PGA apprentices in Germany basic workbench skills, and they hold yearly workshops on fitting and techniques for qualifying the PGA professionals. And I sort of end, it's a long introduction, Mike, but my sense is you have an insatiable desire to find out how to most effectively help golfers play their best golf, which how can it get any better than that, right? So, Mike, welcome today.
Yeah, welcome, Tony. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege.
Well, it's really delightful, and we'll kind of march into things here a little bit right now. You've been, and as I mentioned, a PGA professional for over 30 years. But can you talk a little bit about when and why you really got into and embraced custom club fitting?
Well, Tony, if you say like back in the day, it's the same with everybody just like me. My own golf game was the major influence. In the 80s here in Germany, you could register for the German Open. You just had to play. It's like that open qualifying Mondays.
Yeah.
You could just pay like 40 marks and you can go qualify and you can play in the German Open. So at the golf course I was working at in Wiesbaden, I got about 15 of the low handicappers together and we're all going to go try to play in the German Open. The short version of the story is I drove the ball like a major champion on that day, but I was hitting my short irons, a 7, 8, 9, and wedge, all over the place from distance control.
Yeah.
And a couple times on a par 4, I would hit a 7-iron and it ended up short and buried in the bunker. And then on a really tough one on the back 9, I hit a 9-iron and flew it at the flagstick, and we never found it. I had to walk back and drop a ball because it flew the green, and we suspect it was in some bushes behind the green. Well, the problem was my golf clubs. I shot 40, 40, 80, and naturally didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
I go back to my club as a young assistant, the head professional, who, by the way, was a Picasso with persimmon resin and whipping. He was a club repair expert. I told him the story, and he laughed and goes, "Give me your golf clubs." So I took my irons and measured them, and between the 7 and 9, I only had 2.5 degrees loft. I had actually 3/8 irons almost.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was a really nice Walter Hagen Hague Ultra. I thought I was going to do myself a favor. I bought myself some new irons for this qualifying tournament. It was about 6 weeks before. You know, that one it was like a blade with a turquoise bore through on the bottom of the sole. I mean, they were just beautiful.
Yeah.
But I never measured them. I just bought them off the rack out of our pro shop. And the golf course I played, when I drove the ball well, I had mostly under a pitching wedge to the green on the par 4s. So I never really noticed that they weren't really matched up well to each other. Since then, I never play with anything I haven't measured in the least loft and lie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like you say, most people have an introduction because of some issue they had when they played and opened their eyes, right?
Yeah, and as I've had a pro shop now about 30 years, and in the 90s, I started fitting with Titleist. I think the first seminar I went to was from Titleist and had a cart and did some ping. And a few years after that, I came upon, thanks to meeting Chuck Hogan. Chuck Hogan hooked me up with Henry Griffiths.
Yeah.
And they were the first interchangeable heads and shafts system on the market already in the late 80s, I believe. And I did clubs with Henry Griffiths for about 6 or 8 years, and then just simply because they didn't have everything I wanted, I started buying components and building myself, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and I know you do quite a lot with Tom, and get to see him. He comes overseas, and I guess does a lot of meetings over there. At least one meeting a year, I think, right, with Wishan.
Oh, yeah, I'm really glad I came upon Mr. Wishan. He's a genius and a great guy. And I was I started with Golfsmith Components, and I started building with them and Snake Eye and a few other ones. And then all of a sudden I came on Tom, and it was the same thing with HG's. The company that sold me the Wishan Components here in Germany only had a small part of his clubs. And I contacted Matt at Wishan, and he said, "What? You can have anything you want. Just order from us."
Yeah.
And since then, I've been doing primarily only Tom Wishan heads.
Well, they're as you know, they're fabulous. So it's a good choice.
I'm happy, and Tom's been so gracious with his knowledge. He's been to our golf course 3 times now and done seminars for anyone who wanted to attend.
Oh, how exciting! That's great. Well, Mike, this is a great question. At least I kind of think it is. We talked about you talking about this, but you're very experienced as a teacher and as well as a fitter. So in a little ways, you have a unique perspective on this. What are your thoughts on what's more important, the archer or the arrow? The teaching element or the fitting element, and how all those things play together?
You know, I love all my AGC brothers, but I'm going to probably step on some toes here. But, you know, here in your last interview, Bill said something that's in his podcast that touches me at home with me. He said he sends a lot of people home, doesn't sell them new golf clubs. And I do the same thing, too, because my philosophy is if your golf clubs are in the important areas, these important areas like the length, the weight, the flex, the balance, the loft, the lie, if they're pretty close to what you need, then you're the problem. If you're not hitting the golf ball the way you want, as consistently, as long, or as straight, there's a real good chance you're the problem. Technique wins in the end every time. Now, don't get me wrong. Having said that, I want all my students with properly fitted equipment. It makes learning much easier. But I'm sure if we took your club champion, Tony, or anyone at your golf club that's a scratch golfer, you could probably give him any golf club as long as it wasn't from the wrong side of the ball or for a 5-year-old, and he'll still hit the ball pretty good.
Yeah.
Of course, he wants his own equipment. He wants his fitted equipment. He wants the right feel, and he definitely will benefit from it. But he understands how to hit a golf ball, and that's what I mean with technique wins in the end. If you understand how to hit a golf ball, you can hit just about anything.
Yeah. No, there's no question about that. I had one guy, a close friend, I won't mention his name, and he was playing with irons that are so soft in terms of flex, and I couldn't believe it. And I decided not to say anything to him because he loves the clubs, you know, and he's like a 2 or 3 handicap. But you know, those guys with those great swings, and then the other end of it are the people that still need to develop. And I find a lot of people when I meet with them, I really do need to send them to get some lessons before they'd even consider getting custom fit clubs, because things are way off. And you know, as I mentioned in my newsletter about path and face and stuff, when things are way off, it's very difficult to get clubs that are going to fit well. So
I always say to everybody, it's one of the reasons that I have a very good reputation as a club fitter, and it's kind of with what you were just saying right there, is a lot of people do come to me with their golf clubs way off. And then you can work a miracle in a very short period of time. Yeah. But if your clubs are pretty close, not maybe exact, but pretty close in most of the most important areas, it's usually then going to be you're doing something wrong. My experience is the worse the golfer, meaning the worse the swing, the more important it is for him to get a lot closer with his specifications and his golf equipment so that he even has a chance to learn a good golf swing. Yeah. Once I already know a good golf swing, I can make a good golf swing repeatedly. Of course, I want them to have properly fitted equipment too, but they got it a lot easier.
And, you know, and it's unfortunate too that there's quite a lot of golfers that don't play well that don't realize that those specs can make a huge difference at the starting point. Yeah.
So the answer to your question, Tony, the archer, the arrow, I say the archero.
The archero. I never heard that one before. That's pretty
Me neither.
Good.
I just made it up while we're talking now.
Oh, come on.
But it makes sense to me that I mean, I want them to have properly fitted equipment, but I really like to see them have good fundamentals and understand how to hit a golf ball.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I appreciate that. You know, the other thing that I know we're going to talk about a little bit, I know you feel there are you have some misgivings about where the golf industry is today. Can you talk a little bit about that? There you go. You want to step on some toes. That'll be fun, huh?
Well, very important is it's all about the money, and it's always all about the money.
Yeah.
And the people who are involved are all good people. I know we've heard that from many people, but they're all good people. They want to put a roof over their head and food in their children's mouth too. But it's actually not the people that's the problem. It's the model. I think the model is broken. And I think one of the reasons is technological advances. Through technological advances, we can analyze anything. And the focus turned from playing golf to perfection. They want who can make the perfect golf ball, who can make the perfect golf club, who can make the perfect swing. They're analyzing everything. You really don't. Fortunately, there's a lot of people moving in a stream another direction, but there's a lot of places where you can't get a golf lesson anymore. You only get a golf swing lesson.
Yeah.
It's a detection and correction mentality.
Detection and correction. Now, you didn't make that one up today, too, did you? No, that one you probably had.
It's something I say more often. Yeah, it's like you got to fix it because it's broken. It's not broken. There's no broken golf swing. You don't have to fix it, and you definitely don't want a perfect golf swing. Actually, your only job to kind of move your golf ball around this obstacle course that's outside is you need to be able to have a predictable and repeatable ball flight.
Yeah.
You don't need a perfect golf swing. You need to be able to understand how you move the golf ball from point A to point B, and can you do it often, and do you know what's coming when you set up to a ball?
And when you miss it, can you make a good shot and maybe not always get up and down for par, but some reasonable time, have some sense that you do that, right?
I know we've exchanged a little bit in this area offline, but this fixing the mechanics, it's important when fundamentals aren't correct, but it really doesn't have that much to do with learning. It's really only the first step in learning. I have a model. I'm hitting a ball that's on the ground, a little one with a stick that's kind of got some funny things about it with loft and with length and lie and whatever. And once I understand that model, I can get away from this content-driven instruction where how-to is it's the most important thing, and get way more into like learning through self-discovery. I like always saying golf is not a subject, it's an activity. And through technology, through launch monitors and video and measuring devices, and we can analyze anything. But this analyzation is really actually more for the teacher to be able to understand in a deep way what's going on so that he can set up a learning environment for the student that's much safer and much nicer.
Mike, I hope you'll notice that in the background, we talked early, I was the one that coughed first.
Yes. But I did, while you were talking, I did take a sip of water in between.
Well, there you go. That's fair. Well, from our correspondence that, the focus of how people learn is just, although I will have to say, I think you're seeing more and more evidence out there that people are starting to understand that there are all these other learning models and how people can, more effectively grasp things, right? I mean, I just see over and over, there's just more things being published there.
Well,
we're digressing a little bit from some of the things we said we might talk about, but, hey, let's have fun.
But it's often like this, Tony. The problem is also the solution, meaning I said earlier that these technological advances are one of the reasons that the industry model's a little bit broken, but it's also one of the reasons for what you just said. Because they can measure so well, modern brain research is giving us way better ways to understand how people actually learn.
Yeah.
And I do believe that there is a rapid movement to, I don't know, I would call it getting back to the roots of how to learn to play golf. I mean, it's called play golf. It is a game. It's not called play golf swing.
Yeah.
And I think the future pro, the pro that's really going to be successful in the future, he's going to have to understand the golf swing to its detail, and things like launch monitors and high-speed videos will definitely help him. But when it comes to the how to learn and this self-discovery part, he's not going to just sit there and compare or copy an expert model and have the student try to do that, or he's not going to tell the student what's wrong with his golf swing, or it's not just going to be a downhill how-to instruction. It's going to be a totally different road, and it's because of technology. They understand how the brain works much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mike, I know it's your opinion that, and a lot of us, we keep hearing this, golfers aren't having as much fun and improving more. I mean, we've started down that road a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts in that area?
Well, I think the first thing you have to start with is the way the model is, it's hard to have fun. So the first choice you have to make is you're going to follow a different model, and we're moving that direction. We just said that.
Yeah.
But the second thing you have to do, and it's sometimes the hardest, is you have to choose to have fun. You have to decide, I'm going to have fun learning whatever it is. It could be playing guitar, painting pictures, or how to play golf. And the first step, once you do that, I don't know if you know Oswald B. Shallow, he has a cycle of competence, and the first step is choose to have fun. Fun creates enjoyment. Enjoyment invites participation, and the circle brings you around to knowledge.
Yeah.
And if you choose to have fun, then the first thing you're going to change, and you are definitely going to change it, is the way you practice. Not what you practice, the way you practice. Beating golf balls, that's sadness.
Yeah, how can that be fun? That's right.
When I ask some of the people at our golf club, well, what'd you do today? Oh, I practiced. Well, what'd you do? Well, I hit a bucket of golf balls. And I'm thinking, geez, it's good we got plastic buckets. I mean, if all you did was hit a bucket, and they usually will hit one or two of the clubs they can't hit very well and move very quickly to one they can, like a teed up 5 wood, hit about 40 of them all at the same target and say, I practiced. And then they're not having fun.
I have a friend I talked to this morning that said, well, I hit a couple thousand golf balls, and I can't imagine hitting a couple thousand golf balls anymore. I'll bet I didn't hit a couple thousand golf balls all year. And it just doesn't work. I'm going to give you a 1-second break to get another glass of water. We can do that.
Okay,
no
problem.
Go ahead, take it.
You're
good now.
I'm good, and I wanted to continue on that subject.
Yeah, go ahead.
Learning to have fun. And how, the question I would ask for me, the $1 million question is, okay, Mike, sounds good, but how should I practice if I want to have fun? Okay, I've chosen it's going to be fun, but what should I do? There's a whole bunch of things you should do, and the first thing is you need to learn, and it's a learning process, good fundamentals. If you don't have good fundamentals, it'll be hard to make anything repetitive or predictable. So once your grip and your stance posture, the static swing before you move is okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be functional. And you kind of understand a few concepts, what the club face actually does to affect ball flight, or what the movement of the shaft does to affect ball flight. When you understand those, then you can start doing things that are way more fun, like, for instance, varying things, changing things. One of my principal rules in practicing is never hit the same club to the same target with more than 3 balls. 3 balls are maximum.
Yeah.
And then change something, change the club, hit a different club to the same target. That's a lot of fun. If you normally hit your 7-iron 120 yards, then try hitting your 8 and 9 to the same target and your 6 and 5. You definitely have to learn a few things to do that. You have to change the tempo, change the size of the swing, ball flight, the height of the ball flight will have to be adjusted. You might adjust the ball position. Just by doing that, you're already going to have more fun and learn a bunch more.
Yeah. This is a little digression from some of the things we talked about, but I've been thinking a lot lately, too, about these 2 words, goals and tasks, okay? And we're in this time of year where everybody's doing their things for next year. What are my goals for next year? And I'm doing that too. But I'm starting to think more and more that the more we think about tasks rather than goals, I mean, it's good to have a goal, but to get so wrapped up in that instead of having, sort of a focused effort to find tasks that are going to lead me down the road. Do you know what I'm saying? Does it make sense?
Yeah, Tony. I know you know. One of my favorite saying is the task leads to the solution.
Yeah.
And you need to be given things like a wonderful thing, a simple task that could lead to a ton of self-discovery would be to put your ball in a situation where there's something in front of it and you have to hit the ball low. And I usually like telling people, and take your highest lofted club, now find a solution. And they're going to come up with, if they take the time, they're going to come up with the right solution, whether it's ball position, center of gravity, plane, or release. They're going to come up with things that actually make the ball fly lower and underneath this branch that's in front of me.
Yeah.
And that's self-discovery then, and that's lasting and forever.
And that's probably something that differentiates the guys that are out there making mega bucks on doing that. I'll bet most of them that are playing at that level have gone through a lot of those kind of things, wouldn't you say, Mike? I mean, the PGA.
Are you talking about expert players?
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, I have a specific opinion there, and I actually believe there are so many different types of people out there on tour playing great golf in so many different ways. There's not one recipe for success.
Yeah.
There are people who, the Bubba Watsons, who never had a lesson and just love moving the ball all over the place, and there's people that can't live without video or launch monitor, and they're both successful. Each person has their own road to how I can hit a repeatable and predictable ball.
But then it gets back to what you said earlier, too. It's their road. It's not somebody else's road. Or at least I'll bet that works best, right?
And most people left to themselves will find, and that's like maybe a little bit of fate, but they'll find the solution that works for them. For instance, I have had a very good computer video analysis system for 18 years, one of the first ones here in Germany to have the scope system with split screen, and I don't like practicing in it. That's not how I like learning golf or practicing golf. I like what we were just talking about. I like playing golf. I'm not a real driving range, although I'm a teacher and I'm known as a swing teacher, fitter, and whatever. I don't like looking at my swing on video. It's okay. I swing okay on video, but it doesn't help me to get better. I don't feel like the time spent in video looking at how my club is moving helps me. But if you told me, hit it under that tree limb, now I'm excited. Now I like that. This is a fun task. Now try to hit the same club over that tree. Oh, now we're really having fun, and I'm learning something.
Or taking a 6-iron out of the bunker, or do the old Sevy stuff of the 3-irons and try to get the ball up in the air, stuff like that, right?
I don't know who would tell me that that's not fun, except for the people who are stuck in this perfection and fix-it mentality. They would say that's not fun. What? I don't want to do that. I got a sand wedge. Yeah, but try it. See what happens.
Yeah. Well, Mike, let's do one final question here. So talk a little bit about your personal recipe for success for aspiring golfers.
I'd start at the same place every time. We've said it about 3 or 4 times already. Yeah. If you're not having fun, do something else. So for me, the first step in the recipe for success would be choose to have fun. Remember that it's a game, and it's called playing golf. Meaning, if I start with that mentality, I'm already in a really good state to improve, to learn and improve. So my the first ingredient I'm putting in the bowl before I start stirring is this emotion of I've chosen, I'm going to enjoy this. If you're actually not having fun, do something else. Decide on something else and go have fun doing it. And then once you decided that, I would say the thing that makes golf is you have a golf club. So the next thing I would do and toss in my bowl would be get professionally fitted equipment. I put that on number 2 because I can't start moving till I have a golf club.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get this. I'm going to choose to have fun. I'm going to get a professionally fitted piece of equipment. And I also say with that, once you get fitted, I mean, Tony, you know yourself, if you fit somebody really good, they're not going to need too many clubs from you for a while. They should fit them for a while. They don't need, like the industry, throwing out new clubs every 3 to 5 months. They can play those for a few years. And I always tell people part of getting professionally fitted equipment is don't be chintzy with new grips. Make sure you're always giving yourself something really good feeling in the hands, okay? Yeah. So you go back to the guy who fit you and keep getting new grips. It's like winter tires. You don't want to drive in the snow with no grip, with no tires. And then the next thing I would say is this is a very difficult sport. Take lessons, get help, get expert help. And you're going to have to look around to find the right instructor. I take guitar lessons, and I've gone through 4 instructors till I found the one that we understand each other. He and I, we understand each other, and I can take lessons from him.
Yeah.
The fourth thing I'd throw in there is you need to balance practice and play. Too much practice, no good. Too much play, no good. And you need to learn to practice on the golf course. A lot of people don't. With golf carts and with trying to get as many people on the course at once, I'd go early in the morning or late at night, or I'd go at a time where I could hit a few more shots from a specific situation, a task that I know I need to work on. Let's say I know I'm not good in the bunker, and even worse in this one bunker that I always seem to get in. Well, then I'd drop some balls in that bunker and hit it. So you need to balance between practice and play, and you should probably learn to use the golf course as a driving range.
Yeah.
And I know number 5, that it means the last thing I'd throw in my little recept bowl for more success is, okay, you've got good equipment, you've got good help from a PGA professional, and you chose to have fun, and you're out on the golf course, and you're also practicing without only play, also no good. And then I would say, and I know you've heard this from me, Tony, fall in love with the process, not the results.
Yeah.
Until you understand that it's the process of improving that's important, and the process of learning is not important. And most people, when you have a bad day, Tony, you're allowed to not feel so good about a good shot, or you're allowed to not feel so good about your bad score that day. But your own personal worth is way more than the last shot you hit or the number next to your name. So the results, yeah, it's okay. And I always say, if you play really good, buy champagne. Celebrate.
Yeah,
you need to celebrate because, I mean, you know as well as I do, how often do you play really good? How often do you drive well, hit irons well? All your short game shots are on the stick and you sink every putt. When you do that and you play under your handicap, celebrate. Buy champagne. The nature of the beast says it's not going to happen that often. So if I'm in love with the results, I'm going to be a sad person. Step number one is not going to happen. I can choose to have fun, but I'm not going to have any because my frustration's too high because my results aren't matching with my expectations.
You know, and maybe that kind of an attitude is going to, if more and more people had that, all this discussion we keep having about golf is going down and all that, maybe we could start attracting a lot more people to golf too if they were having that good time when they're out there. Yeah.
I always say you have to understand the meaning of the game, and the meaning of the game is walking.
Yeah.
It's walking. It's getting out there, you and I, buddies. And yeah, I can play my ball, you can play your ball. We can compete with ourselves and we can compete with each other. And we're out in the fresh air and we're socializing and there's sport and it's difficult. And when you understand that, then your handicap or whether you shot this score or that score or whether you hit one, a ball in the water is just one ball in the water. I know you. I kind of took a sneak peek at what you were saying you're coming out with your next ebook. There's no failure. There's just experience, and you adjust. Yeah. A ball hitting the water is telling you, maybe you're topping it, and it's because you're doing this or whatever. It's giving you information to help you the next time to get over the water.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're going to end here in a second. Mike, it's been enjoyable. You know, we haven't talked for a couple of years, at least actually talked. We've corresponded over the web. But I will say one thing. You got to remember, I want to make sure people hear one of your other favorite phrases, which is keep training and gaining without complaining, right? That is such a beautiful... Already,
or that's from Dennis Waitley. Dennis Waitley.
Is that really?
Great speaker about winning. Keep training and gaining without complaining.
I didn't realize that was fun. I've read some of his stuff. So, well, very good. Well, Mike, again, it's been a pleasure to get to do this. We can find another topic sometime, any old time that you want to. But to learn more about True Custom Fitting, and I've got a couple other links I'm going to put in the show notes, but True Custom Fitting is at www.truecustomfitting.com. But Mike, have a great holiday. Thanks for doing this. And, as you know, we keep hoping we're going to get to buy you drinks at the next round table. And everybody keeps leaning on you, but whatever happens will happen. So.
Here, Tony, I just want to say thank you, and hopefully maybe my, we'll call them opinions, could help somebody here in some way, shape, or form. And I just want to say that what you're doing, I think one of the nicest gifts you can give anyone is knowledge. And what you're doing with passing around information through newsletters and podcasts and your website and everything else, I just say it's great. Keep on keeping on. Pass on that knowledge. It's a great gift.
Knowledge is great stuff. Yeah. Well, thanks again, Mike. You take care.
Yep. All the best, Tony.
Bye now.
Ciao.
www.gameimprovementgolf.com.
Mike, thank you very much for doing that interview. The world is getting smaller all the time, isn't it? When you can get on the phone and do an interview with somebody over in Germany and get great value to people, I hope, around the world. Mike, you inspire me all the time to learn more about how to learn, just simply how to learn, how to improve, and also to enjoy my golfing more. I especially like the idea that you brought up about sometimes just going on and getting on the course and not really worrying about scoring, but hitting different shots. I plan to do that. One of my goals in the coming year is, I can't say that I'll do it every week, but certainly attempt to do it once every month or a few months to just keep injecting more fun in my golf game. Another of my big goals this coming year is simply to do that too, and to keep remembering how much fun golf is, and to keep the fun in my play and in my practice, and always remember that. Well, that's it for today and for 2014. Happy New Year, everyone. We will be starting the new year with a good friend who's been on this podcast before, Glenn Coombe, the putting doctor. And we'll talk about improving putting dynamics, tempo, and some additional interesting topics that I know you'll enjoy. Again, Happy New Year, and see you in 2 weeks.
Game Improvement Golf, your source of information and inspiration to become an exceptional golfer now. www.gameimprovementgolf.com